Okay, long story. We have to go back, very back. So when I was in the 11th standard, I started working with an NGO called People for Change in Jamshedpur in Jharkhand, and we started this program called School on Wheels, where we used to travel to the interiors of Jharkhand and these tribal areas and teach those students there. I think my knack for doing something with a social impact started there. I would just go talk to all my friends, tell them, hey, why don't you come join us? We're doing this thing, you're free. So I think that is where it all started. I really wanted to do the fellowship immediately after my graduation itself, but my parents were like, no, finish your masters and all of that. So I was like, okay, fine. And even during college, we used to take up various projects. I was a volunteer in one of the TFI classrooms itself. So I think that is where the inclination towards joining the fellowship really stepped in. I think the most fancy thing that I realized when I stepped into a TFI classroom was it was so different from my own classroom, right? And I was really fascinated by the fact that, oh wow, people are friends with teachers here. So that was very fascinating for me. To be very honest, I think most of them, the students, given that they're also in a fifth grade classroom, are very unheard at home. And because they're not able to share their opinions, their ideas with somebody who actually wants to listen at home, that does create like a sadness, I would say, or like a gap in their socio emotional growth or learning. And which is something that I identified early on in during the fellowship, given that COVID was also very prevalent at that time. And the student voice bit, I do owe a lot to the ex fellow also, because they created a culture where they were open about sharing anything, absolutely anything. Even um, and then I continued it by saying, okay, even if it is maybe not completely related to what you're sharing, you might have seen today also in the class that sometimes students were just taking one aspect of it and then sharing a completely different story which has nothing to do with the question that I was asking. I think just letting them share that has encouraged them that no matter, even if you're doing saying the wrong thing, that's okay. I think they were all aware as individuals, but they were not very collaborative. Was something that I realized was not working well. Maybe the fact that it was an online setting also had something to do with it, but I did not see the collaboration or the teamwork bit coming out very evidently in the class. Apart from that, some other thing that I saw was just the differences, right? Like they did not see everybody on the same page. They would feel some had inferiority complexes, some had superiority complexes that I'm better than everyone else. I think that was something that I identified, which I throughout the last 2 years I've been trying to actively solve. And I think I've done a decent job on that by now. The biggest struggle, firstly, was to get them onboarded because none of them had phones, or some of them were even first time smartphone users. So I think that was the biggest struggle, given the fact that I myself was not in Bangalore. I had to manage somehow. I raised funds or just asked for donated devices, got second-hand devices, because at that point TeachForIndia just started giving out devices, and my class was a fourth grade class and it was very clearly specified to us that 9 10th is the first priority because they have boards. So it might take time. So I somehow managed, got phones for everyone without actually physically being present here. So I think that also helped build credibility. But that was one big barrier that I actually broke by raising that fund.